to welcome you to the October 7th Blue Springs City Council meeting. We're going to do an invocation by Pastor Ryan Hochgraby of Timothy Lutheran Church, and then Councilmember Kaler will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll stand with me.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening, and thank you for our City Council for caring for our city. Let us pray. Almighty God, you have given us this good land as our home. Grant that we remember your generosity and constantly seek to do your will. Bless Blue Springs with honest industry, truthful education, and honorable ways of life. Protect us from violence and discord and confusion, from pride and arrogance and every evil course of action. Grant that we as a city may become united people and support those gathered here tonight as they pursue the well-being of our community, and give those to whom we have entrusted to lead in this city the spirit of wisdom, that there may be justice and peace. When plans succeed, may our hearts be thankful, and in the challenging and heavy times, do not let our trust in you fail. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can be seated. Thank you, Pastor Hochgraby and Councilmember Kaler. I'll now call the meeting to order. First item is a confirmation of a quorum.
Councilmember Kaler.
I'm present.
Councilmember Tholen is absent. Councilmember Fowler.
Here.
Erickson.
Present.
Edmondson.
Here.
Culpepper. Present. Mayor Levisay.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Next item is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, if I may.
Councilmember Edmondson.
I would just like to point out more to the public, so to speak, because I think most everybody here has probably already been through the packet and seen it. Item C is Resolution 762024. It's approving a contract for Hidden Valley. It's just under a $3 million contract, and it's for the installing of synthetic turf and new backstops. So this is a big investment we're making to the softball fields, all 9 softball fields in Hidden Valley. And I know there has been some complaints about that area of Hidden Valley not being taken care of or being updated. And this is our steps away to put some money in there and start making some improvements in Hidden Valley. And I just wanted to bring that out to where it's more public than what just a line item in our consent agenda.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Kaler.
I don't know exactly which group uses it. They're a challenge group, but this would help them tremendously to be able to play baseball and softball on that with their wheelchairs and et cetera. So this is a great improvement, and I'm glad to see this is finally coming to the existence, and I'm all for it.
Any other discussion on the consent agenda? All right, with that, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Never mind, this is roll call. Let's do a roll call.
Councilmember Kaler.
Aye.
Fowler.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Culpepper.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Next item is a public hearing for rezoning and plan development concept plan for Ironwood. The clerk will read the items to the record.
Mayor, the city has 2 exhibits to enter into the record. Exhibit 1, City Council Information Form dated September 24th, 2024 with the following attachments. Staff report with attachments, application with attachments, affidavit of publication of the Examiner on September 7th, 2024, 185-foot notification map, names, addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site, copy of letters sent to said property owners, emails of opposition, Title 4 Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinance by reference, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference, and bill approving rezoning and the Plan Development Concept Plan with Plan Development Standards attached as Exhibit A and Plan Development Concept Plan attached as Exhibit B. Exhibit 2 is letters regarding Ironwood received October 1st through 7th. This is all we have to enter for the record.
Mr. McCumber, if you'll be sworn in and give us a staff report.
I do. Dave McCumber, 903 West Main Street, on behalf of the city. Before you this evening is a planning application for a rezoning plan development concept plan and a preliminary plat submitted by Ashler Homes as the applicant. The property in question here is generally located both north and south of 40 Highway and east of the Adams Point Golf Club. The property was annexed into the city back on September 18th, 2024. In totality, it comes up to about 71.62 acres in size. Currently, the property zone agricultural. It's a county designation that came from when it was annexed into the city. And the proposed zoning tonight is for a planned development residential / Adams Dairy Parkway overlay designation. The applicant is proposing to develop approximately 62.24 acres of the 71.62 acre property as the Ironwood subdivision, consisting of 134 single-family lots, 90 duplex lots, and 12 tracts of land, 5 of which are classified as designated open space. The development is proposed for the property north of 40 Highway. South of 40 Highway, the property will remain undeveloped, as much of it is within the floodway, and will be platted as tracts. To the north of the site is the Adams Point Village subdivision, which began around the early 2000s and is still under construction of its third plat today. The extension of Northeast Pavilion Drive is proposed to be extended from Adams Point Village south to 40 Highway. The proposed residential subdivision offers a variety of homes ranging from a minimum livable floor area of 2,200 square feet down to 1,200 square feet for single-family buildings and the duplex buildings as well. Each duplex unit will be platted on its own lot for sale to promote home ownership. The applicant has conveyed that this spectrum of housing types within the single subdivision will allow future residents to age within the neighborhood if they so choose, by providing products for each stage of life. Additionally, the entire subdivision will be maintenance provided for lawns and landscaping, which is attractive to those who have a busy lifestyle or may lack a green thumb. The comprehensive plan C2 specific area plan development concept map has designated this property for small-scale multifamily, which would involve the developments of 2, 3, and 4 plexes, townhouses, and walk-up apartments on lots that are in similar size to detached housing lots. While the proposed development does not completely align with the C2 area-specific plan, it does include an element that was identified by providing duplex buildings, with each unit being for sale for fee simple ownership. When comparing the Ironwood subdivision to what types of development are achievable as outlined in the C2 area specific plan, the units per acre are much less dense compared to if it was being developed in conformance with the small scale multifamily development types. The proposed zoning district of PDR 80PO allows the applicant to set a personalized standard for each building type within the development. The standards have been provided in their written plan development narrative and is listed in the plan development and building type standards section of the staff report. The subdivision is designed for a density of 3.13 dwelling units per acres and features front-loaded single-family and duplex building types. The minimum livable floor area breakdown of the subdivision is color-coded on the concept plan sheet and arranged by blocks. Going into those classifications, color-coded on the plan here. So first looking at the blue lots, which are Class C. These are west of the proposed Pavilion Drive extension and directly south of Adams Point Village. This block is separated by a tract A. It's a 33-foot wide tree preservation easement within that tract. And that buffers between Adams Point Village and this subdivision. And then these lots are also adjacent to the Adams Point Golf Club on the west. The plan development standards most closely align with the detached house neighborhood lot building type as defined in the UDC. Adams Point Village lots 30A, 31, and 32 were classified as Class A, which are the lots directly adjacent to lots 1 through 4 of this proposal. That Class A is a minimum livable floor area of 2,600 square feet. The applicant is proposing to skip from Class A to Class C by providing the tree preservation easement to create a visual separation from the different classifications across the two subdivisions. The green lots, or Class D, is south of the blue block and east of Pavilion Drive. The plan development standards most closely align with the detached house small lot building type as defined in the UDC. South of the blue block, the applicant is proposing to provide an incremental minimum livable floor area step down from Class C to Class D. East of Pavilion Drive, Adams Point Village, lots 73 through 79, which are directly adjacent to these lots 1 through 5 in that block, are Class B, and that is the applicant is requesting a step down from Class C to Class D here. Along this section of the subdivision's northern boundary, by providing another 20-foot wide tree preservation easement in the tract of land that's between the two subdivisions. The yellow lots, classified as Class H, are more centralized on the site and insulated from Adams Point Village, have the most dramatic step down from the green lots to the north. The yellow blocks align with Class H minimum livable floor area and require a 1,200 square foot minimum for each dwelling. The applicant has indicated within their narrative that the size of the lots and diversity of housing types will cater well to the aging population in Blue Springs as discussed in the comprehensive plan. The architectural character of the subdivision is provided in the plan development narrative and states that a mix of ranch and conventional style homes with a variety of elevations, colors, and masonry materials will be provided. A non-monotony covenant will prevent the repetitiveness of colors and front designs side by side or across the street, maintaining the community's long-term aesthetic appeal. The applicant has also stated that all garage doors will be a mix of designs to include some with windows and some without windows. The duplex buildings, which follow the requirements of the residential design standards, are proposed to have garages that do not exceed 25% of the front facade of each building. The applicant's engineer has stated that the duplex buildings are new to Ashler Homes and do not yet have final design drawings. However, they estimate that the garage facings will only equate to approximately 16% of the total front facades of each of the buildings. Each duplex building includes a front door on the front of the facade and a second on the side facade, which helps blend the duplex buildings in with the adjacent single-family homes. This sort of architecture makes a smoother visual transition from single to two-family dwellings than what's typically seen across the community. Minimum parking for each dwelling of the subdivision will be met as single-family homes will come with 3 or 2-car garages and driveway space, and the duplex buildings will provide a 1-car garage with driveway space. Northeast Pavilion Drive was designed and constructed in the early 2000s as part of the Adams Point Village subdivision. It is a local residential collector street and was originally planned to connect R.D. Mize to 40 Highway. Pavilion Drive is to be extended through Ironwood to 40. The street extension will provide a crucial connection for traffic and emergency services access and circulation on the east side of the city. 5-foot sidewalks are being provided on one side of each street in the subdivision, and a system of trails are proposed for tracks throughout the subdivision. A traffic impact study has been completed to determine how the development in this area will influence traffic on 40 Highway, Pavilion Drive, R.D. Mize, and Sniobar Road. The impact to the roadway network is expected to be minimal, with minor changes to the level of service at studied intersections. 2 turn lanes are recommended to be constructed, 1 for left turns and 1 for right turns from east and westbound 40 Highway traffic into the entrance to the development. No traffic signals are proposed with this development. MoDOT controls 40 Highway access and has given only 1 access point to this development. MoDOT's strict policies on access management is evident by the use of shared access drives, roads that serve multiple properties, and frontage access easements across properties that abut 40 Highway. A preliminary stormwater management plan has been submitted that includes multiple detention basins and BMPs to control runoff and water quality. A final stormwater management plan will be needed to be prepared by a professional engineer registered in the state of Missouri and submitted to Public Works for review. Gravity sanitary sewer is available to the south of the development. The sewer has the capacity to convey flows generated by the development, but the developer is responsible for extending sewer within the property in order to serve the site. The PD standards have identified a conceptual monument sign to be located within a track at the subdivision's entrance on 40 Highway. All signs will have to be approved with a sign permit. If the signs do not comply with the sign code, the applicant may request a master alternative sign plan. The applicant has provided a conceptual landscape plan. All final landscaping, including required plant materials, will be reviewed with the PD final plan. Each single-family lot is required to meet the 45 plant unit minimum plus applicable street tree requirements prior to the issue of certificate of occupancy. Buffers are only required along 40 highway frontage as outlined in the staff report and the frontage and landscape section. Since the proposed development falls within the Adams Dairy Parkway overlay, the applicant is required to provide a minimum of 15% open space or 10.74 acres. The applicant is currently providing 12.25 acres or 17.1% open space across 5 of the 12 tracks. While the 12 tracks are proposed with the development, only 5 are counted towards the open space systems as outlined in the UDC. Tracks I and J are being platted as preserve areas and will serve to protect the stream that runs through the property from the disturbance of the development. A trail will be constructed through these tracks and will hug the lots along the track's west side. Within tracks A and J are tree preservation easements along the north property line that abut the lots in the Adams Point Village. These easements are recorded with the final plats of the development and protect the existing mature, healthy trees from being removed. If a tree within this easement is damaged during construction, a replacement will be required in accordance with the UDC. The maintenance of these easements and tracks are the responsibility of the homeowners association. As shown, the property is proposed to be developed in 3 phases. Phase 1, shown in red, includes all the lots west of Northeast Pavilion Drive, plus Track C from 40 Highway to the northern boundary. Phase 2, shown in green, is proposed for the lots between Northeast Pavilion Drive and the stream buffer, or Tracks I and J. Finally, Phase 3, shown in blue, will be lots east of the stream buffer and Tracks I and J. Northeast Pavilion Drive will need to be completed with the first phase of the development to provide a second point of access, since there are more than 30 lots being proposed with that phase. During the September 23rd, 2024 Planning Commission hearing on the case, there were no members of the public who spoke in favor or opposition to the project. The commission voted unanimously in favor of the rezoning, PD concept plan, and preliminary plat. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning application. Staff recommends approval of the plan development concept plan application with conditions, and staff recommends approval. The last one has already been taken care of. So just the 2. And with any questions, we'd be happy to respond to.
Any questions from the council for staff? Councilmember Fowler.
Yes, Your Honor. On that third phase, is that going to be a bridge over that stream?
Yes, sir.
Okay, those are normally pretty expensive to come by, but how far of a distance is that?
That'd probably be a good question for the applicant's engineers here in attendance. He could answer that one.
All right, thanks.
Councilmember Erickson.
Could you comment on the width of the lots? I see some lots that are 50 feet. What's our standard?
So depending on the building type and the UDC that's being utilized, there may be lots that are of that size, but let's just take a look here and see.
Yeah, lot 27, 29, 28.
So the Class H lots are a 50-foot minimum on those particular ones. Those are the 1,200 square foot minimum livable floor area single family homes.
What do our codes, what's the minimum in our codes without doing any variance on it?
I have that pulled up. The minimum in our code, there's different building types. The most common throughout the city is the neighborhood lot, which is a frontage width of 65 to 120 feet. minimum of 50 feet for lots fronting on a cul-de-sac. We also have a detached house small lot, which is 46 feet to 65 feet. So both of those are allowed in our development code currently. And we even have a smaller one that goes down to 35 to 45 feet.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that.
Any other questions? Councilmember Kaler.
I know you have stated it, but I just want you to highlight it again, please, because we've had a lot of comments and emails. MoDOT controls how many entrances off of 40 Highway, no matter what addition you have or what businesses you have. MoDOT controls the number of entrances, correct?
That's correct. Yes, MoDOT does control that.
I just wanted to highlight that so others might watch this and see we do not control that.
Councilmember Culpepper.
Yeah, I have a question concerning the calculation on the units per acre. Since 12 acres are on the other side of 40 Highway, I'm not quite sure why that is being included in the calculation of units per acre, because my understanding and having looked at that property, it's going to be tough, if not impossible, to develop as part of a subdivision that would belong to what we're looking at now.
Do you want me to? So if you could zoom out, Dave.
Yeah.
So that is included for a multitude of reasons. The first is that it was part of the land that was annexed into the city, held under the single ownership of the trust that's selling the property. The land is also being included to help provide a buffer from the railroad tracks, which are just south of it, to 40 Highway, so that the railroad and the highway have a buffer between them, and also to provide a buffer from 40 Highway to neighborhood residential to the south. There are two neighborhoods on the south side of 40 Highway that maintaining this tree area as part of the open space of this subdivision, preservation area of this subdivision, will maintain that buffer. Though the land is in a floodway and may be difficult to develop, doesn't mean that it can't be developed.
But as I see what we're looking at here, it is not really part of this subdivision.
It is proposed to be part and controlled land use wise under the same plan development concept plan, and being designated as to be preserved as open space. In terms of changing the density calculations, if that 12 acres is removed, the density of the northern portion of this subdivision, the overall acreage would go from 71 to 59 acres, and over 224 units, that's a density of approximately 3.75 dwelling units an acre.
Yeah.
So it's a difference of about 0.6 dwelling units an acre.
Okay, I just want to be clear on that, because when I look at this, I don't see that as part of this subdivision. I understand we're rezoning it as a unit. I understand that it was all brought in together. However, we are not, as far as I remember reading through this, it wasn't even included in the calculation of open space. Is that accurate? So if it's not included in the calculation of open space, and it's not being developed at this time, I don't understand, and it's probably a moot point, but it just seems like the 3.13 acres versus 3.75, it's a difference.
Okay. Yeah, there's still, yes, there's a difference of about 0.6 dwelling units an acre. Still within the typical range of what our comprehensive plan designates as low density residential, which is anything from 0 to 5 or 1 to 5 dwelling units an acre. And so it would be comparable to other subdivisions that we have, but yes, there is a difference.
And even if we look at that and call that open space, I have never, and I've been doing this a while, seen a major highway go through and have everything on the opposite side of that highway called open space in order to be included in the calculation of your units per acre. That it just bothers me. It's almost like a, whether it makes a difference or not. To me, it's not accurate.
Certainly understand that. I don't think there's any nefarious deception being tried on the part of the developer or staff.
No, I'm not assuming that.
I think they included it to preserve it and to make sure that that would not be tried to be developed in the future. And to, one of the open space categories in our code does allow for preservation, and to basically leave an area untouched is able to be counted as open space.
And that's fine, but I think at that point it should be in here as open space, and it should not be allowed to be developed if it's part of the open space for this subdivision.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Fowler.
Yes, along that point, the property on the south, assuming that the
Can you bring up the
proposed development occurs, who will have liability on that going forward? In other words, 10 years from now, is the HOA going to own that property? Is it their liability, or will the developer still own it?
I think that's a question best left for the developer to answer for how they plan to structure their HOA and their maintenance. The city will ensure that through this process that there is some mechanism to be in place to ensure that there is somebody that the city that is in charge of maintaining it, and that the city has to be able to go make sure that it's maintained. How that is set up, whether that is through the HOA or through just the remaining with the underlying property owner, that is up to the developer, and I think he would best be answered to answer that.
I'm sure you're gonna give me the same answer. I had this similar question on maintenance provided. We don't know what that mechanism looks like yet. It'll be a question for the developer.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, any other questions for staff and the council? Is the applicant present? Want to come give a presentation, answer some questions?
They do need to be sworn in.
I do. Good evening, everyone. Mayor, council members. Sean Woods with Ashlar Homes, 2800 Northwest Hunter Drive, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64015. So we have a short presentation we can run through. Staff answered a lot of the questions already in there. Just introduction to Ashlar Homes. We've been building in Kansas City since 2011. We're a local Blue Springs-based family company. Office is here in Blue Springs. I reside in Blue Springs. We build about 100 homes, 125 homes a year, and we were recently recognized as fourth largest builder in Kansas City by the Business Journal. You've already got the introduction. 71 acres, 179 lots, central gathering space we didn't really focus on yet, but we'll focus on that later in the presentation, and the entire community is maintenance provided. That's just an overall site map of where it's at. Obviously, we've already kind of touched on that. Just so you guys understand kind of as a developer how we do this, and I'm sure you understand this, but as we started looking at this product, we refer to your comprehensive plan for a lot of the information that we're gathering. So we went to look at the comprehensive plan. This site is already labeled as a small scale multifamily, which the density we're talking about of 3.1 or 3.7, however you look at it, small scale multifamily would be much more than that. It'd probably be between the 8 to 10 range if we would have done this as duplex, triplex, and fourplex as the comprehensive plan calls for. Tree preservation, as we were doing this, we understood that there was already tree preservation on the northern tract in Adams Point Village, and so we wanted to do kind of the same thing to give a separation of the neighborhoods. So they have a tract D1 that is, I think 22 feet on one side and 20 on the other, and then we added 33 feet on one side and I believe 22 feet on the other. So we ended up with a 50-foot tract if you put them together, and a 42-foot tract to separate the two communities and leave a nice tree preservation. There's a nice stand of trees through there. So we took some careful thought in that and how we were stepping down the size of the houses. This is just overall landscape plan. We've got a nice tree stand against 40 Highway. Obviously, that'll all be irrigated and mowed along with the rest of the neighborhood, but then also just the trees through the neighborhood, and then our central gathering space, which we'll look at earlier, has a nice landscape around it as well. Entry monument, we took a few further steps than we typically do. Normally we wouldn't design the entry monument until after you've approved the development, but with this one being right on 40 Highway and kind of being a central entering space into Blue Springs, we want to make sure we highlighted, that divided median and how the entry is going to look and be landscaped so that you understand it's a nice entry into the city of Blue Springs as people are coming in. Central gathering space, obviously you have some commercial buildings showing in the picture there to the left. That is not going to be commercial buildings around this, but it's just giving you a feel for what we're looking at there. This is actually taken over 119th and Row or Metcalf at Town Center. So we're envisioning just a central lawn that people can go out and play croquet. They can play cornhole. They can hang out with their friends. There'll be a burn pit to the eastern side of it, and then a pavilion even further east than that. With the demographic we're thinking this neighborhood is going to appeal to, as well as the size of the development, it doesn't really support a pool, but it does support a central area for people to hang out and gather as a neighborhood or a community. You asked about the HOA maintenance provided, so we're talking about trash removal. All yards will be mowed, irrigation on every lot, bed maintenance, and then lawn treatment programs. And then just to talk about some of the quality construction, Ashlar Homes is a little bit different than most developers. We build every single house in the neighborhood. We won't sell any lots off. So we'll be building Energy Star certified homes. Every home in the community will have fiber cement siding, so like a James Hardie product all the way around 4 sides. So we have 4-side architecture. Double wall construction, which is pretty well unheard of in Kansas City. Most are single wall. Again, we already talked about irrigation on all homes. We have 32 different front elevations across 15 different floor plans. And then we will also include monotony rules that no 6 in a block. So 2 side by side across the street, 2 either direction. They can't be the same color, and they also can't be the same front elevation. We pulled up just some pricing for you of the neighboring neighborhood to the north. So they have prices anywhere right now from $495 to $750. And the reason we did this is because a further slide is going to show you that our northern lots are going to be that expensive or more, and then very comparable in price. And then obviously we'll come down in price as we come towards 40 Highway. So this is the slide you were looking at earlier about the different sizes of the houses, the 2,200 square foot minimum. I basically went in and ran our current housing stock that meets that 2,200 square foot minimum. Base price on that with lot would be somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000 for the blue. And then obviously back into the golf course, they're going to have lot premiums and most likely build a larger house. So those will be $600,000 plus. And then the 2,000 square foot minimum, which is the green lots, would be somewhere between $425,000 and $500,000. So all the lots neighboring the northern community are comparable in price to exactly what is in the northern community. And then as we start stepping down through the neighborhood, the 1,200 square foot would be $325,000 to $425,000 as we come down through there. And just a point of clarification, the way City of Blue Springs does it by square footages, we don't have a 1,200 square foot house. Our smallest is 1,350. But once I duck under 1,400, my next option is to go to 1,200. So that's kind of a inside your guys' code how we had to stipulate that. These are a few of our front elevations, and this is all price points. 3 of those are the upper price point. 1 of them is the lower price point. So we did this just to show you kind of how these look in comparison to the neighborhood to the north. And this is the same elevations on the top, put in with the neighborhood to the north on the bottom. So you can see that the architecture is very similar. And as you've already seen this slide, but this is just showing you that we have different front elevations across all of our floor plans. So it gives you an idea of 2-car garage, 3-car garage, 2,000 square foot as well, 3-car garage, 2-car garage. There's plenty of elevations to make them mix and match. And customer chooses if they want the 3-car or the 2 cars we're building. As we talked about, the villa product is new for us. We've built villa product before, but we've never built one with this orientation where it looks like a single family house from the front. And then it has a side entry for the second residence. So we feel like it'll blend very nicely with the single family as we come down through there to where it'll have a nice appeal from the curb. We just gave you some pictures of interior finishes. Again, all these things are built to customers' likeness. So we typically build about 30 to 40% of our houses on spec, and the rest of them are built from scratch for whatever a customer chooses. So they would have the options to add any of these interior finishes that you're seeing as they choose as they're building their home. We talked about the traffic study. It required 2 turn lanes, so we'll have an eastbound and a westbound turn lane, left hand and right hand. MoDOT did require a 30-foot clear zone for us adjacent to 40 highway, which basically means we just couldn't put our entry monument or anything inside that clear zone that they required. And then we did do a divided entrance just to make a little more grand statement as people come in off 40 highway. This is just a summary of your comprehensive plan. So again, I said as we're looking at a piece of property, we dig into it to figure out what exactly each city is looking for inside their comprehensive plan. And this is pulling directly from your comprehensive plan. It says the population of Blue Springs is getting older. Increase the percentage of empty nesters. That's the reason we're going to maintenance provided for one, but also a younger generation doesn't like to maintain the outside of their house either. So that's another reason. But that also lends itself to a smaller house. So while you have larger houses to the north, an aging population doesn't want a larger house. They just want nicer finishes. So they may want a 1,200 square foot house with nice finishes. They may want an 1,800 square foot house with nicer finishes. Also from your comprehensive plan, it said 75% of the housing in Blue Springs is single family. We tried to stay relatively close to that mix as we were going through here. But also at the top, by 2025, 50% of all households could be single occupant. And again, this is straight out of your comprehensive plan. So a single occupant does not need a 2,600 square foot 2-story. They need a small house that they can lock and leave and go on vacation or go to work or whatever they need. And then again, there was a big focus on neighborhoods and gathering places. That's why we put that central gathering spot for our neighborhood to build community and focus around a community space that they can all hang out in. And then also, last thing, integrate housing choices into the neighborhoods, which we feel like we've done a great job of. And honestly, as a developer, when I look at this project, I look at Adams Point Village as kind of part of this community. So you have something that people can move up through. So they have a lower priced product north 40 highway. They can move up to a mid-range house, and then they can move up to a $750,000, $800,000 house if they choose. But there'll be all kinds of moving up and down. So even older population could very easily move out of a $750,000 house down into one of the duplex villas or one of the smaller homes, since their maintenance provided, and stay in the same community throughout their livelihood, hopefully. And then I think we did a great job in this one of considering adjacent properties for what we did as far as the development and annexation there. Is that it? All right. So that's my presentation. If you guys have any questions, I would try to answer them. I have Jake from Schlegel Associates too, if you have any questions that I can't answer from an engineering's perspective.
Let's start down here, Councilmember Coulter.
Okay, I want to go back on the other side of 40 Highway.
Okay.
I know you used that in your calculation, or whoever did the calculation. So that is going to remain undeveloped and
Correct.
part of open space.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and to then address Councilman Fowler's question on that, maintenance,
It'll be deeded to the HOA.
HOA.
Yep.
Okay. I also had a question, and I apologize, I didn't jot it down, but the percentage of garage on the what do we call them now, duplexes? I don't know. Everybody's got a different name.
I think it was 16% currently, but
Now, is that per unit, or is that per the structure?
no, it's the whole structure and then the 2 garages that are on that structure.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Erickson.
Well, I think I have 3 questions, but let's go. Could you explain that divided turn lane? Walk me through that. How many cars are going to be coming out on 40 highway if they're?
Are you saying the one coming out of the neighborhood or the one on 40
coming out
highway?
as a pavilion on the 40 highway?
It's not a divided, it's just a divided entrance. So
So you
like
had to have-
Hickory, if you know Hickory Woods in Blue Springs, they have a divided entrance when you come in off 40 highway. It's basically just a central median. So if you're coming westbound on 40 highway and you took a right-hand turn, you'd be on the right-hand side of the median. If you're coming out,
Okay,
then
so it's just a median.
it's just
I
a-
thought
yeah.
you said that it's going to be like different lanes.
No, I think I confused that on you on 40 highway. So 40 highway, we're having to do an eastbound and a westbound turn lane on 40 highway.
So also, could you explain to me one more time we have our city golf course, which is beautiful. Then we're gonna have the high-end homes to the north. How far from the back border of the property is the golf course? And didn't you say there was a tree buffer, or somebody said there's a tree buffer there?
So the tree buffer is actually between us and Adams Point Village. When we get over to the
Okay.
golf course, there is no tree buffer, but there is still trees between what the golf course has and the fairways, if that's what you're asking.
So
You already own that property, so I couldn't really throw a tree buffer on there.
Well, I didn't know I haven't been back on this property. I don't think I can drive there. So you would be in the homes to the north and to the west, and go down or up or whatever the elevation is, and your property line would be the city's property line.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And then one other question that's just kind of something that I am concerned about is your development. Will you start construction of all the properties? I know you're gonna have or 1, 2, and 3, but will you start the golf course side and the duplexes all at the same time?
Yes. Yeah, it's important for us when we go in. So this is actually a small development for us. Normally we're developing 150 to 200 acres, but we always want more than one price point at a time. So in this case, one of the reasons we had to go on the phasing plan we did is because we were going to build more than 30 lots. So we had to put pavilion all the way through. But we really want to have the duplexes, the 1,200 square foot or 1,300 square foot homes, the 2,000 and the 2,200s. We all want them all available at the same time, because then when a customer comes, we can sell to anybody and everybody that comes through the door.
Okay. And one addition, you're gonna do the HOA will be doing the maintenance. I assume that will be people from someplace else. There's not like a maintenance facility on the property.
No. Yeah,
There's
so I think one thing I skipped over in our presentation is we finished Sunny Point Villas and we finished Indigo Hills and Blue Springs. Both are maintenance provided communities. This will be handled identically to that. I mean, so you're gonna have an outside contractor that's bid every year that comes in and does the turnkey mowing services. They come into the neighborhood one day a week and then they're gone.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Councilmember Fowler.
Yes, Your Honor. To Councilmember Erickson's point, looking at the aerial view from the overhead, when it comes to the golf course, yeah, I probably hit a few balls over there in my time. So I guess you do the first 2 phases, then on phase 3 there's that bridge, and that is we just don't see very many bridges in residential subdivisions. So that's got to be quite an expense to just do for that small portion of land.
Yeah, and it's not actually a bridge, it's a box culvert. Still very expensive, but it's a box culvert.
Okay.
So obviously there's an exit going out to the east. So obviously we would see that that's going to be needed there to serve something to the east in the future. That's MoDOT over there on the east side right now. But I mean, just to let you guys into a little bit of our business, what we do is when we come into that, the turn lanes on 40 Highway and the box culvert and part of Pavilion are all things that we calculate at the very beginning, and then we spread them over all the lots. So even though it's expensive to get across there, it gets spread over everything because it's part of the development.
All right, thanks.
All right, any other questions for the Councilmember Culver?
Yeah, it's not really I guess it's a question. And we say this quite often, well, the minimum is 2,200 square feet, the minimum is 2,000, and you've already said the 1,200 is because your smallest is 1,350, won't fit into the next category. So since 70 to 60% of these are going to be custom, what do you expect, or what can the people to the north of this expect as far as the size homes? I know 2,200 is the minimum, but what do you anticipate? And I'm not holding anybody's feet to the fire, but just to give an idea, because we usually see people develop higher than what they've put on their classification.
You're asking on the lots directly by them?
Yeah. Those that above.
I would think the 2,200s will probably be 24 to 2,500 would be my guess.
Okay.
And then the 2,000s will probably be really close to that, maybe 2,200. It's just going to depend on how much of a basement they finish.
Right. All right. Thank
So,
you. I just think it's important for people to know, just because that's the minimum, that doesn't mean that you're only gonna do that square footage.
Yeah, that's the baseline. And I will say staff at City of Blue Springs is very good about checking HOA requirements and square footage when we submit permits. So
Yes.
they have a good handle on that.
Any other questions from the council? Okay, I understand staff, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question for the developer. It kind of goes along with Councilmember Fowler's line of questioning related to the phasing. We have had a few subdivisions in the city where a big improvement like a box culvert bridge was left to the third phase, and then got to the point where the developer never chose to install it, and then a different developer came in and said he did not balance it out over the 224 lots. He was only going to be able to balance it out over how many ever lots are in phase 3, and then that became cost prohibitive, and now that second half of that, or that third phase of that subdivision has laid bare. So have you given any thought to building the road connection part to over that box culvert as part of phase 2, so that we don't end up in that in the worst case scenario should Ashler Homes not be the developer that finishes the phase 3 of the subdivision?
I haven't thought about it, but I would be open to either doing that or putting up a cash bond when we got to phase 2. Because basically the way we would do that is every single lot we sell in phase 1, some portion of those proceeds would be kittied away for that box culvert. So when we get to phase 2, before we record the plat, we could either plan on building over or we could cash bond,
Okay.
if you'd prefer that.
I think it's something that we should at least have a commitment from, because I'm speaking specifically with regard to the Woodbine subdivision up off of Cook,
Yep.
next to Willow Tree, and they built the first 2 phases and then had to build a big box culvert at the cost of $500,000 to get to the third phase. And then all the developers have told us they can't do it because it's cost prohibitive, because they have to absorb that entire box culvert cost with just the number of lots in phase 3 alone.
Yeah, we could definitely look into that.
So that may be a motion to amend for that language? Is that,
That could be, just with a condition that the developer either constructs the road improvement that would be involved with the box culvert, or put up a cash bond in lieu of doing that as part of the second phase.
Okay.
If the developer would be agreeable to that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Making it. It's not time to make a motion yet, but.
we'll let staff work on that language first.
Any other questions for the applicant from the council? All right, thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation. I'll now go to the audience. Does anyone in the audience like to speak in support of? Anyone to speak in opposition to? Okay, any other comments from the council before we close the public hearing? Public hearing is closed. Next item is introduction and reading of the Ironwood rezoning and plan development plan.
I will introduce that, Your Honor.
First reading Bill 5265, an ordinance rezoning property from AGC Agricultural County to PDR ADP-O, Planned Development Residential Adams Dairy Parkway Overlay, and approving a planned development concept plan for Ironwood.
Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilmember Fowler.
Yes, I don't know if staff's got that worked up yet or not, but a motion to amend relative to the box culvert that we mentioned about. If staff could recommend some language, I would so move it.
I would second.
Do we have some suggested language from, I see the city attorney scrolling away here, so. Is there any other discussion while we're waiting for language on the motion? Councilmember Culpepper.
Yeah, I want to make sure that that property to the south of 40 is included as open space, because I don't believe it is.
The intent is to restrict it from development, is that my understanding?
Is to include it in the open space calculation, or to ensure that we put some sort of preservation easement over it.
I just want to make sure that it's not, number one, developed, because it's not included in the calculation.
Okay.
So it does look like on the drawing here that it's designated for open space, so when that final plat comes through, we can take care of that, but whether or not it's in the calculation of the overall, that may be different.
I did a quick calculation based upon the staff report, And if the amount of open space being provided right now is 12.25 acres, which I believe is, I think it's in your staff report, Dave, I think it was about 17% of the overall site is open space. If we add in the 12 acres on the south side, it increases the open space to 24.25, which is approximately 33% of the property would then be calculated as open space. And the tract delineation that Mr. McCumber pointed out as preserved as open space, when we get to the final plat, we could have them put a easement over that if we can.
All right, I would, I may be out of order here. I'd like to know what the applicant's statement may be on that.
I know public hearing's closed.
Yeah, public hearing's closed, but you can
Yeah,
still make a comment
But I still want
at
to
the
hear.
request of the council member.
My only fear is, I mean, we're well within the calculations without it. I'd rather just drop it out and say that if we still own it, it's gonna be HOA property, because we don't know what we're gonna do with it. It's not ever gonna be developed, but I would love to deed it away to the airport. I'd love to, there's all kinds of things that could happen to it, so I don't want you to get it where it's so encumbered I can't get rid of it. If it is still there, it's gonna be part of HOA property, but without the we excluded it from our open space calculation on purpose, so we
Right.
made sure that we showed you that we're well within our means of doing so. There's no way I can develop it. It's two creeks that go all the way through there,
Okay.
but if the opportunity presents itself to deed it to MoDOT or deed it to the airport, I'm gonna do that to save the HOA some money. So I'd hate to like lock it up to where that can't be done.
Is there some way we can note that?
Yes, what we could do is, for the, when the first final plat comes through for that land, we could put a landscape easement over it that would be dedicated, for the purpose of maintaining the trees. And then should that property ever be sold to, say, the airport or railroad or something, and they come back at a point and wish to try to do something with it that is not in keeping with the language of that landscape easement as dedicated on the final plat, the vacation of any easement is a process that has to go back through the planning commission and back to city council, so city council would have the final say as to whether or not whatever the new entity is trying to do with it would be acceptable or not.
All right, thank you.
City attorney has some suggested language.
Very good. Okay, so here is a suggestion. So in the ordinance, this would be section 3, this would be an addition. There's 3 conditions. This would be the 4th condition to add. It would be developers shall construct the box culvert shown in phase 3 or put up a cash bond at the time of construction of the public improvements in phase 2. Does that timing sound correct?
Yes,
Okay.
and you may want to add, so I think you left off with the construction of improvements in phase 2,
Uh-huh.
and I would add, and prior to the plat, the final plat recording of phase 2.
Okay, I'll read that one more time. Okay. So the number 4 condition would be developers shall construct the box culvert shown in phase 3 or put up a cash bond at the time of construction of the public improvements in phase 2 and prior to recording of the final plat for phase 2.
Councilmember Fowler, do you so move?
I so move, Your Honor.
Councilmember Kaler?
Yes, sir, second.
Second, all right. Any discussion?
And I think I did see the developer nodding.
Oh.
Correct.
Can we change it to stream crossing instead of box culvert in case we figure out another way to get across there?
I understand that.
Actually, that is a very good suggestion, because there may be a better, cheaper way, or more, yeah, that's a good suggestion. Rather than pinning it down to how it's being done.
I'd like to exclude a ferry boat, though.
Okay, shall I read it one more
Yeah,
time?
yeah.
Let me do that. Okay, developers shall construct the stream crossing shown in Phase 3 or put up a cash bond at the time of construction of Phase 2, or excuse me, at the time of construction of the public improvements in Phase 2 and prior to recording of the final plat for Phase 2.
So moved, Your Honor.
And again, second.
All right, any further discussion? Councilmember Erickson.
Is stream crossing adequate? Is that determined by it?
Staff seemed to indicate that was appropriate.
It is?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe it is, and I believe if there was any question that called it in, we could come back to this moment in the meeting and show what the intent was on that time, should the developer not be the developer of that third phase or second phase at that time. So I believe we adequately would have shown the intent of that, yes.
Okay. Any further discussion?
This is on the amendment.
This is just on the amendment. Do I have to roll call this or can we? Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Motion passes. So now we're on first reading of the original bill as amended. Any further discussion? Councilmember Fowler.
Yes, Your Honor. I guess I want to thank Ashlar Homes for bringing forward this. They mentioned Indigo Hills, and you can drive through that neighborhood. It's really interesting when this maintenance all provided, where all the lawns are basically of the same nature. They probably get the same fertilizer, and they get mowed at the same time. It's very unique to see a subdivision all done like that. So I think this will be very interesting to see that, and look forward to that. A subdivision this size being maintained collectively.
Any others? Councilmember Erickson.
Quick comment as well. I came into this meeting with trepidation, if you will. I was not prepared to actually vote for it, but after the discussion from the city staff and from the Mr. Woods, I changed my mind, and my questions have been answered, so I could fully support it.
All right, with that, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Second reading.
Second reading Bill 5265 as amended. An ordinance rezoning property from AGC Agricultural County to PDR ADP-O, Plan Development Residential Adams Dairy Parkway Overlay, and approving a plan development concept plan for Ironwood as amended.
Your Honor, move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, roll call.
Councilmember Fowler.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Culpepper.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5371.
Okay, next item on the agenda is another public hearing for PS Property Services conditional use permit. If the clerk will read the items into the record.
Mayor, the city has one exhibit to enter into the record. Exhibit 1, City Council Information Form dated September 24th, 2024, with the following attachments: staff report with attachments, application with attachments, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on September 7th, 2024, 185-foot notification map, names, addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site, copy of letters sent to said property owners, Title 4 Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference, and bill approving the conditional use permit. This is all we have to enter for the record.
All right, and be sworn in and give a staff report.
I do. Christopher Willis, 903 West Main Street, on behalf of the city. Before you this evening is a conditional use permit with alternative development standards for 309 through 315 Northwest 10th Street. The subject property is located at the southwest corner of 10th and Vesper Streets. The applicant, Stacy Heath, has made a request to operate her property maintenance business, PS Properties LLC, from this location. PS Properties falls under the Building and Construction Contractor Land Use of the UDC. The applicant previously received approval for a conditional use permit in 2023, specifically for the address 315 Northwest 10th Street. The applicant has changed addresses within the property since the previous conditional use approval, which was specifically assigned to the tenant space 315. This CUP application will be for the entire property, 309 through 315 Northwest 10th Street. Go ahead and pull up the zoning map. The property in question is zoned GB General Business. In that zoning district, the building and construction contractor is a land use that requires conditional use permit. The special use standards of the UDC provides additional regulations to this land use, which specifically focus on outdoor storage, parking of company vehicles, the location of overhead doors, etc. And the applicant has requested 2 modifications, and these include the allowance of the existing overhead doors which front a collector street, which is a deviation from the UDC. Staff supports this request as the building and its overhead doors are existing and there are no plans to make modifications to the building. And the other modification is the allowance of overnight parking of company vehicles in front or street side of the building, which is also a deviation from the UDC. And staff again supports this request as the existing site was designed in a way that meeting this criteria is not possible, as due to the constraints of the front yard area is the only feasible location for parking. If this site develops in the future, further compliance with the UDC will be required, and staff recommends approval of this conditional use permit with 4 conditions. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for staff from the council? All right, looks like you did a good job.
Thank you.
Is the applicant present, like to make a presentation, answer any questions? Okay. Any comments from the council before I go to the public? Then we'll go to the public. Anyone in the audience like to speak in support of? Anyone speak in opposition to? We will close the public hearing. Next item is introduction and reading of PS Property Services CUP.
I will introduce that, Your Honor.
First reading of Bill 5266, an ordinance approving a conditional use permit to allow the building or construction contractor land use in the GB General Business Zoning District located at 309 to 315 Northwest 10th Street in Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri for PS Property Services LLC.
Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Second reading.
Second reading of Bill 5266, an ordinance approving a conditional use permit to allow the building or construction contractor land use in the GB General Business Zoning District located at 309 to 315 Northwest 10th Street in Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri for PS Property Services LLC.
Your Honor, move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Culpepper.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Fowler.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5372.
Next item is introduction and reading of Bill 5267, a final plat for Weatherstone Business Park.
I will introduce that.
First reading of Bill 5267, an ordinance approving the final plat for Weatherstone Business Park, third plat, Lot 1, Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri, Bump City.
Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Second reading.
Second reading of Bill 5267, an ordinance approving the final plat for Weatherstone Business Park, third plat, Lot 1, Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri, Bump City.
Your Honor, I move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Edmondson.
Aye.
Culpepper.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Fowler.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5373.
Next item, introduction and reading of Bill 5268, amending the Code of Ordinances related to helmets.
I will introduce that.
First reading of Bill 5268, an ordinance adding section 340.100 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, motorcycle operators or passengers 26 years of age or older, no protective headgear required.
Your Honor, move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilmember Erickson.
Is this a requirement that we do this? I mean, do we have to do this? Can we keep the requirement in place as is?
I believe this is a reflection of the change in state law, but Chief, I'm looking
Right.
at you.
So historically, when state law was changed, we eliminated our entire ordinance and related to this, thinking there was no helmet law, helmets were legal. But actually, in effect, you have to be 26 years of age or older, or operator or passenger, and possess a health insurance card. We don't have that in our ordinance, so we need an ordinance that mirrors state statute. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
So we do not have an ordinance at this time, so this is just an approval to match the state statute?
Correct.
Okay, yes, that does. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Second reading.
Second reading Bill 5268, an ordinance adding section 340.100 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, motorcycle operators or passengers 26 years of age or older, no protective headgear required.
Your Honor, move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Culpepper.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Fowler.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Mayor Levacy.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5374.
All right, next item is visitors. We don't have any speaker appearance forms, so we'll go to council member comments. Councilmember Culpepper.
Actually, I have two things that I,
You know where this is going.
it's not time for the game yet.
Councilmember Culpepper, please continue.
I don't know how to shut it off.
Already gone to the game, huh?
Okay,
It's never a dull moment around here.
I have two things that I would like to say. First off, is a quick comment about Adams Dairy Parkway. I was going down Adams Dairy Parkway, traveling north the other day, and a golf cart shot out from Parkway Estates and zipped straight across to Adams Dairy Parkway. And I'm going to tell you, it's a wonder it wasn't hit. And there were 4 or 5 kids in it. I'm very concerned. It's dangerous, and I don't know why people do that. They did not look. There's no way they looked. So that's my pet peeve of the day. The other thing I do want to bring up, North Carolina. I am personally affected by the flooding in North Carolina, and now we have another hurricane that's about to take out Tampa. We need to keep these people in our prayers and in our thoughts. It is such a bad situation. I know my kids were without electricity, without water. They didn't have a bridge to get out of their subdivision for over a week. And they were not hit as bad as a lot of the people. So I just ask that everybody keep them in your thoughts and your prayers. These people are really hurting, and it's just a sad situation.
That was a pretty inspiring story, the neighborhood that your son lives in, building a bridge together.
They built
as a
their own
community.
bridge. It was
That's
amazing.
pretty
It's a
amazing.
single lane wooden bridge, but
Yeah.
it's up, and they were able to get electricity because they got the bridge up. And they got to know their neighbors really well. There's a small subdivision, only maybe 25 houses. So, yeah, but they're really hurting, and we need to keep them in our thoughts and prayers.
Councilmember Edmondson.
I know you have family there. I have family in just outside of Tampa, and they're looking at possibly some serious damage coming their way too. So I compliment you on that comment. I would like to, though, compliment the police department for our National Night Out. I think it was very well attended. It was well organized as far as how the vendors and the displays and stuff were put there. I just wanted to pass along the comment that they did a good job, and I think the community responded well to it and was well attended, and weather was great. So,
Thank you, and I'll take time to echo that. I appreciate everybody's support and the community's support. It was a good event.
I'll make a quick comment.
Councilmember Erickson.
I apologize. I'm not gonna tell you the score of the Royals game. I was going to do that, but too bad, and I wanna thank you for telling me how to shut off my darn.
There's not much of a spoiler alert yet, is
Yeah,
there?
not
It's the bottom of the second. They're okay. Councilmember Fowler.
Yes, Your Honor. A couple things.
it was expired.
To public safety and minors, a work associate at the plant where I work at, it wasn't here in this town, but within the past week lost a minor to riding a four-wheeler with an accident with a vehicle. And so it is just really a sad and tragic story, and we all have to watch out for minors and driving, and hopefully we can educate the minors as well to be in safe situations. I guess I did want to say, relative to Ashlar and Ironwood, I hope staff will certainly recommend, I wish I would have made this point while they were here, and that is it would be great to have that land to the south deeded to some other entity. I don't think the Homes Association in the long term is going to want owning that property and the liability that goes with it. So hopefully they can find a home for it. And I guess it's not random that all the council members and the mayor are in red, so I'd like to thank Councilmember Kaler for that, coordinating our attire tonight.
Well, I'm a man of few words. Ditto.
Yes.
How did you choose red? I mean, something coming out.
Yeah, well, if we get out of here in the next 6 minutes, then there is a Chiefs game. And yes, thank you, Councilmember Kaler, for being our social director for the evening and coordinating the red shirts. I do have just a couple of items before we get out of here. First, we have a brand new employee, first day on the job. It's our new economic development manager, Mr. Josh Alexander. So we are looking forward to putting him to work, and already I'm sure everybody up here has a list. The position of economic development manager has been a priority for, I think, every council member to make sure we're being proactive in our development, and I think it will be great to have him on board. So welcome, Josh. Thanks for coming tonight as well. In addition, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so we'll have a proclamation for Hope House that I think is next week. We have worked with Hope House for a long time. Not only do we provide funding for Hope House, but they also, through grants they receive, fund a domestic violence detective and provide lots of resources to our police department as well. So unfortunately, Blue Springs is not immune to that issue. It happens here in our city as well, and so something to be aware of as we go through the month of October. Also, believe it or not, seems like it was a long time ago, but it has been since our last council meeting. Most of us attended the Truman Heartland Community Foundation gala, where we recognized Bobby Hines as our Citizen of the Year. So it was an exciting event, and Bobby is well deserved of that recognition. And it's not a city event, but this on Sunday, October 13th, again before our next meeting, the You Matter movement, his nonprofit, is having an event at Sandy's. It will be a fish fry and a car show. So go out and participate in that and be a part of his organization. And finally, last but not least, October 19th is the Parks Department has our second annual Brew to Brew 0.5K, and that's my kind of run, 0.5K, literally just from East 40 Brewery to Scout Coffee. If there's still space available, you can get a shirt and a medal that says you went through the grueling 0.5K, as well as some free drinks, coupons, and that kind of thing. So sign up for that. With 4 minutes to spare before the Chiefs game, I will accept the motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye. Aye. We are adjourned.